to Emily.
Thank you so much. And I guess the first thing to say is a huge well done, big round of applause to the writers, the performers, the technical team, everyone who's managed to make this happen in not easy circumstances. So huge well done to you all. Also, a very big thank you and well done to Jane, our BSL interpreter, who's just done the most beautiful job. I loved the movement in the interpretation, and signing two people singing, genius. So thank you. I'm Emily Gray. I'm the Executive Director of Mercury Musical Developments. We're an organisation, a membership organisation that works with writers to create, develop, support new musicals. And Martin Coslett is a regional rep for us. So it's very lovely to be working with him on this. And I'm delighted and honoured to be invited here this evening to chair this discussion, this Q&A. And I think my first job is to introduce and welcome our performers. So in no particular order, but because he's very close to me on the screen, I'm going to say a big welcome to Sam McCagety. Have I got right that? McCagety, there we go. John, who played Sam, who played the lovely carpenter John. So thank you, Sam, for being here and well done.
Thank you.
Then we've got Sam. Then I think we have Gerard Fletcher. Yes, he's Gerard, who played Sir Henry. Lovely to have you on screen with us. Have we got John Conway, Sir Richard?
My camera is still disabled, but if you can hear me,
oh,
I'm here. John,
we can hear you. It's lovely that you're here. Hopefully we'll see you at some point as well. Have we got Imogen? Imogen Halsey? Yes, here's Imogen. Hello. So lovely to see Imogen, who played the beautiful Catherine. Oh, look, here's John. We've got our Sir Richard. Great. I think we've also got Tim Leichfried. Yes.
Yeah, that was a great pronunciation. Yeah.
Was that okay? Was that close? Good. So Tim, who plays poor old Mark. Thank you for being here. And have we got Clara Coslett? I'm not sure we have. Maybe she'll be joining us. Right, so I think that's the actors we've got. Please wave and shout if I've missed you out. Hopefully there's our acting team. Then there's our wonderful writing team. So Mary, who wrote the book, is here somewhere. I'm sure. Mary's with us there. There's Mary, give us a wave, thank you. And then Peter and Martin, who wrote the music and lyrics. So Peter and Martin, give us a wave. Great, good. So for this session, those of the audience who are joining us, if you have a question that you'd like to ask the team, either if you're an adept at Zoom, you may know the little raised hand blue symbol that you'll find in your chat. So you can use that if you want to alert us, or if you'd rather write in the chat your question, it might be really helpful if you put question in capitals. That really helps me anyway. And then just tell us what your question is and we'll pick up those questions. But if you want to raise your hand, we'll come to you and you can ask us questions. So, but I said I'd kick off this discussion. Really enjoyed seeing the progress of this piece, the part that was done earlier. Oh, actually, I want to wind back a bit, actually. I want to wind back to very, very near the beginning of the first lockdown. Seems a long old time ago, doesn't it? At MMD, we did a chat about how to technically cope with this moment and how to put your new musical online. And I remember Martin Coslett at that going, yes, I want to do this, but how on earth do you begin? And so I feel like I was there at the beginning, Martin, when that question of going, we've got this great musical, we want to develop it somehow, we're not going to let lockdown put us off, how do we go about it? And I mean, the journey, I know you'll have been on a huge journey. I don't know all the details, but I know there will have been a huge journey to have gone from that point to this point where you've created 2 films, you've you've brought a sign language interpreter in, you've filmed on location. I mean, you know, all credit to you for getting this to happen. So yes, so we've got to this point, and it's lovely to have seen some of the performers working through from the first to the second, and some being new in this second iteration. But I'd love to ask you performers, tell us about your process. This is new to all of us, this working through lockdown, this filming yourselves. How have you managed to do it? How did you approach this from the moment of getting a script, or even from being asked to be part of it? I wonder if there's someone who'd like to kick us off with that. Who's going to unmute? Is it going to be you, Sam? I'm going to pick on you because you're right next to me on the screen.
Hi there. Can you hear me, by the way?
Perfectly, thank you.
Okay,
yes.
cool. So the process obviously was a bit interesting. Normally you get to meet all of your cast members in person beforehand, whereas obviously we met over a Zoom call. So it's slightly different, but I mean, it's a similar concept in the fact that we did the read through, except again online. I think the biggest challenge was having to record the scenes, imagining your colleagues saying the lines. So in your head, you're kind of having to run everyone else's line as well as your line. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges. However, we did record some of our Zoom rehearsals, I should say, as a practice to help us keep in time. But even then, it's still a very different experience trying to do it here, as well as obviously when you're developing a new musical, there's often workshopping and time you take to develop characters, to play around with it, etc. And we are of course limited by the fact that we have to do these online rehearsals and then get it recorded. So we miss out on that, but at the same time, I think everyone did a fantastic job of taking on the idea and playing with the characters as much as they can within the sort of framework that we were given. So it's definitely been a new experience, a new challenge, but it's been a fun one.
Great. Does anyone else have a different? I'd be really interested. I don't know if any of you have done any film acting, film or television,
Yes.
and whether that's maybe John could tell us a bit about that, about how using the different techniques potentially.
Well, I was going to pick up on what Sam said about the reading in other people's lines in your head. I did cheat a little bit on that one actually, because I had either my laptop or a digital voice recorder playing the recordings of the Zoom rehearsals in the background, so that I had the pacing and everything exactly right. And then I've got a little bit of knowledge about video editing. So what I did then was put it onto my computer and then muted out the sound of the other people speaking, so that all that was left was the video and my voice. And then I submitted that.
Very clever.
That worked out really well. The challenge in terms of the film work, well, that was a question that came to me rather too late in the process, actually, because you may have noticed that for some of the scenes I was in, I was facing, I was doing it in a filmic way. So I was actually facing just off camera, looking forwards, whereas some people were looking sort of like left and right, as if the people were next to them on the stage. So probably, you know, in hindsight, that might have been something to think about, but it was an interesting experience, just recording some of it at home and then some of it on location, trying to match things up. So yeah, interesting, I think, is the key word.
Yes, and a great challenge without a whole film crew and directors around you telling you exactly where to look, I guess.
Yes, compliments to my daughter for one of the scenes, definitely.
Great. So I was going to say, did you all have to find people in your own bubbles to record you and film you? How did you go about that? Is Imogen?
Yeah, so hello everyone. I actually I'm using it right now. I have a music stand, and that I have this like contraption that my phone is in right now. It's a music stand on its side. I use that. I don't use anyone else, so it means I can do
Very inventive.
And that was outside with me in the wind. Yeah, so pretty dramatic with all my bits and bobs going outside. But they created an amazing thing for us to look at, so we could I think it was Andrew that created it, correct me if I'm wrong, but he created this thing where you could see exactly where you were on the in the room, so you knew where to look everywhere, which was really helpful. It was really well done. I thought it was really easy to know where the people were.
Great, how interesting. And did Gerard or Tim want to add anything in terms of the experience?
I wanted to add that it kind of adding on to what Sam was saying about the reading other people's lines in your head, and how, because we probably didn't get the timing perfect when we were recording. So I think the editorial magic that has been going on to make it seem as if every kind of interaction was timed perfectly was really impressive as well, looking back. So yeah, that was just what I wanted to.
I used some interesting props for my eye lines off camera. So Sam was actually a bin with a plastic bucket on top to give me my eye line, and John at the other side of me was a prop stuck in a ladder. And the cat, our cat, appears in certain shots that I had to sort of edit out. She decided to chase a squirrel halfway through. And my long-suffering wife read in for me, so it was quite a challenge, really.
Well, doesn't that just show you how incredibly inventive performers are? I mean, you know, endlessly inventive. I love that idea of the dummies.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Sorry about that, Sam, with the dustbin with a lid on top. But yes, you know.
Probably the best part I played, Gerard, to be fair. I did also have use of a green screen, I must say. I bought one of those recently. So some of the inside stuff, I used a green screen and superimposed a background on it. So that turned out rather well, I thought.
Great. And do you feel like you've learned new skills because you've kind of had to? Is there anything you'll take out of this going, yep, I've definitely learned a new way of doing things?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, as actors now, we're sort of called upon to do any auditions these days. You have to self-tape. So anything we do now to improve that going forward, it's obviously good practice for us to be actually filming ourselves, because that's how we now apply for jobs. So
absolutely,
hopefully
yes,
we'll hone those skills.
Yes, indeed. And in terms of the music as well, did you all have the tracks pre-recorded to sing to? How did that work?
Yeah, do you want me to speak? Sorry, I can't tell. I haven't got everyone on my screen. So they sent the original tracks with Harry singing on there, and then with just the accompaniment with a click or not. So you just kind of and the sheet music obviously as well. I don't know. I think everyone was kind of individually having chats with Harry about the music. So that was kind of individual. I don't know about anyone else in the group, but yeah, I know. We just kind of learnt it from listening and had the music, and then we just went for it. I found it quite interesting. I haven't done too much of miming to my voice because we recorded the vocals separately to make it a clear sound. I haven't done too much of that before, so that was quite fun. I did. You do like I think you're supposed to. I did anyway. I sang along with myself, so it didn't look like I was just mouthing along.
Yeah, it was very convincing. Did everybody do that? What did you do? Others?
I actually mimed it because again the track was playing in the background, so I mimed it and then just took all the sound out before I submitted it, so I knew that it'd be synced up. Yeah, the outtakes were interesting when I actually started singing the wrong words at one point, but I didn't submit that one.
Right.
Yeah,
we'll have that in the bloopers section.
Yeah, I started singing the harmony at one point just because I got lost in where I actually was. So I was singing someone else's line, but obviously the sound gets taken out. So it was all fun in the end, really.
I must say, the first time I watched it through this afternoon, because I got a sneak preview. It was delightful. I didn't think about anything technical, actually. I just was completely there in the story with you all and imagined you were singing outside. And of course, it was only when I saw it again tonight, I went, oh, of course, they're not actually singing. Yeah, very, very convincing.
Good.
Good. I'm just going to check whether we have anybody with a burning question. Because if not, I'll keep talking, but I just want to make sure that... Okay. So I'd love to know how much you thought about whether it was rehearsing or whether you were actually doing it, how much you're actually thinking about the 14th century and being in 1360, and how that affected you in terms of performance. Any thoughts about that?
Well, luckily for me, I mean, I don't live too far away from Chesterfield, so I had a sort of picture of the place in my mind's eye.
Lovely.
So it was quite easy to sort of imagine that I was there at the building. And to be quite honest, the windlass, the animation was very inspiring. I thought it was brilliant, that animation. So it sort of made it very real. And I've seen one in real life in Beverley Minster. There's one in Beverley Minster. So it was, I was quite lucky to sort of do a bit of research, I suppose, and knew what I was thinking in my head, what I was seeing. So whether I was in the, you know, as actors, you can only take yourself back to where your own experiences take you. So thankfully the Crooked Spire is not too far away.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm the same as well. Live near Chesterfield, so got to like see it and imagine what it would have been like. And I think my character Beth, she obviously her husband has just died, so that's like such a traumatic experience. And I think the fact that it was murder as well, that was very unusual for that time period. So I was trying to feel what it would be like in that time to have your husband have been murdered, which is really traumatic. So I had to do like a lot of kind of character work to get in that frame of mind. Because it was quite sad, but then it's also a very medieval, like the medieval music style really helps. Get into that. But
it's lovely to see you, Clara. Sorry I didn't introduce you earlier on. I know it took a moment to get you into the Zoom, but Clara Kostler, hello. So, and beautiful song with Beth, and actually the arrangements on that song were just beautiful. The kind of the ecclesiastical feel of it, and lovely what you did. And I guess for those of you who were able to film around the church and in Chesterfield, that must have been lovely in a way to have those surroundings.
I didn't have Chesterfield, but I did. I was putting the word out, and it was actually, as I say, my daughter helped me with part of the filming, and it was her boyfriend that said he actually works very near a church that is quite a way away from the main road. So, you know, bearing in mind the noise when you're recording, traffic noise, you don't want anything too modern or too windy. So that actually proved very handy for one of the scenes I did. Not the one behind me, but...
What is it? Is that a backdrop behind you?
It's a virtual background that I found online because you don't want to see the state of my room.
But it's perfect for the subject matter. Well, you know, the church being built.
I do try.
Beautifully done. Lovely. Where were you filming, Sam? Oh, has he lost his unmute?
Sorry. So my internet just crashed and then I had to unmute myself and everything again. So I had a couple of places I was filming. There were obviously quite a few bits I had to do indoors just because weather permitting as well. That was always fun. There were a couple of occasions I'd go outside, I'd set up and I'd be ready to record my scene. And then suddenly just the wind would blow my camera over or it would start raining and I go, okay, fine. But we have a sort of a public orchard near us, about a 10-minute walk away. So popped up there to record some of the scenes for some of the outdoor bits, being in the woods, etc. And then the other one was there's a lovely very old church near where I live, and so I was able to pop there for a little bit here and there. But I was actually quite lucky because the boy who plays Walter, also named Sam, actually lives quite close to me. So I was actually able to show him some of the locations that I filmed as well. And we were able to coordinate on that so as to keep some consistency there as well, which was a big bonus really, because there was every chance that he could have been up on the other end of the country. It just happened that he was 15, 20 minutes down the road. So
that's fabulous.
That worked quite well in the end.
Great. It is very strange. Sort of knowing that you haven't met each other, this company, because we're so used to actors working so closely, and even now I'm finding it odd that you've sung songs together and not met. I don't know how that feels for you all.
Weird.
Yeah.
Your brother, you see, have the brothers met, John and?
No. I mean, we met via Zoom.
We met.
Yeah, so we met and chatted and joked and stuff. So that was cool. They were a bit of an icebreaker.
Yes. How bizarre! And then that the love interest. Two of you have never been in the same room.
Mine and Gerard.
Sam and I have known each other. No, Sam and I have known each other since we've known each other since, when did we meet, Sam? We went to uni together, so we've known each other for like 5 years.
A long time.
We know each other well, so it's all good. We know who the other person was.
Yeah, that one works well.
And Clara, you studied with one of the performers, is that right?
Yes, yeah, with Niall Gray, who was playing Will. So yeah, I knew him from the Masters at Central.
Right,
Yeah, and
right.
also know Sam from uni as well.
Oh, okay, there are connections here.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's nice actually, because it's it just brings you a bit closer together. And I suppose a question possibly for the writers about where next. Have you got an idea about what might be the next steps or the next bit of development for the piece?
I suppose I can start here. Thank you, Peter, for introducing it all. We read the book, a fantastic book by Chris Nixon, and he's been very supportive. And we're now working as madly as we can to finish. We've scheduled January the 12th, I think, for Mary to finish the book and for us to finish the songs. We're trying to write one now with all of Chesterfield's streets in it. Isn't that right, Peter? Maybe. But you were talking about the church, Chesterfield Church, which is so special, and the people there, the choir, members of the choir helped, and members of the choir in Dronfield helped. I don't think there was anything in the film that was filmed there, but we did record the church, the tenor bell, which somebody played for us in the lockdown, which was rather fun, and that was in Clara's song. I'd also like to take this, pay tribute to Andrew, the director, and Matt, who edited, and Harry, who did the arrangements. So they were brilliant, but they're a bit shy, I think.
But a vital part of the team.
So maybe Peter or Mary would like to add on.
Shall I go next, Mary? Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing the story and getting the whole script together. We did have quite a lot of it done before July, and then we did a showcase version of part of it for Buxton Fringe Festival, which meant trying to make a story out of part of the first act, and then we've done this next edition, which also makes a story out of that one, but now we've got to try and reinsert those two stories back into the whole script, and that's quite exciting because we've developed all the time our characters and our storylines, so now we've got to kind of mangle it all back together, which is what where we pass over to Mary to do that.
I mean, it's really interesting because what works so well on film, of course, is the voice of the narrator, and having that storyteller as an anchor that you keep coming back to her, and you go, oh, if I've lost my way a bit, I know that she'll help me with where I am. And I just wondered if that's very much part of the live show as well, whether that will stay, that character as the narrator.
I think Martin doesn't want the narrator in, and really the narrator's just there as a vehicle.
Okay.
Because there was so much that we needed to put in the first one and the second one to keep the continuity without actually having the whole dialogue. So that was what the narrator was there for, just a vehicle to turn the story through. So, but in the final script and the final musical, Martha will just be a complete character with a dialogue and songs of her own.
Okay, interesting. So it will feel different.
Yeah, and it's still in development, because actors, if you want to know, it's going to be in the vernacular. So we're researching Derbyshire idioms, and they will go in just to make it because the whole thing about Ashford Heritage Arts is that it's for the local community, to bring them in, to make it more relevant to the history and culture of the area. So we think that that's quite important, and as they both Peter and Martin said, we've now got to bring those two showcases into the main script, because those showcases have changed the story now. Because as they were developed, things came along that we thought worked better. And I have to say, I think I said this before when I was speaking to Sam, I like to know the people I'm writing for. And so now I've got a visual cue for the people I'm writing for now that we've got this showcase. So hopefully I'll finish the script. It will go back to Martin and Peter. They'll put the music, the songs back in. Then it comes back to me, because I'll then make sure that the dialogue fits with the songs and that they don't overlap. And either the music gets changed or the dialogue gets changed to bring it all together, so nothing is contradictory.
Yes, it's a long, old process, isn't it? It always is, particularly with musicals, because of the different elements having to work together. But that sounds fascinating. I was going to ask actually about accents, because we definitely had some Derbyshire in there, didn't we? I think, were you all using your natural accents, or? Oh, Imogen, tell us.
I attempted a northern accent. Up to you how you decided that one. I don't have a northern accent. I attempted it.
Good, well done. Have we got a genuine Derbyshire? Clara, were you born and bred Derbyshire?
No.
No.
So yeah, sorry, I didn't attempt a Derbyshire accent. I kept my own like southern accent. But yeah, next time if I get the pleasure of performing it again, I would definitely attempt a Derbyshire accent.
That's just another person on the team, a dialect coach, to help you help you be specific.
I just made the assumption that I'd been to a posh school somewhere. That's what I did. So.
Who was that? Was that John?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I've lost you on the screen. You've moved. There we are. Okay, good, yes.
So I'm the one who lives nearest, and I'm the one who's speaking with an RP accent.
I might be near this because I'm I'm from Derbyshire. I'm from Bakewell, but I did have to intensify the Derbyshire, I think.
Right, so you pushed it a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
A bit more yokelish than I would normally speak, but yeah.
Great. I guess that will give it a lovely sense of place and identity. Do we have questions? I'm quickly just checking in the chat that we haven't got any in there. Any of our lovely audience, are there things you'd love to ask this team or performers?
Was this the very first time that you managed to, have you ever done anything remotely in different houses, different fields, ever?
No.
Okay. Was this pretty much a first time experience for everyone, would you say?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great, it was really good. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was very intrigued by the. Oh, sorry, Jan.
I was just going to say, Anna, I'm a member of a band, and we've tried doing some recording in our different bedrooms and then editing that together. So that's sort of a bit like it, but nothing like the complexity of putting on a film, which is essentially what we've done today.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Sorry, Jan, did you have a question?
Well, it was more of a comment, really. I gather that Martha is not going to be the narrator in the final version, but I wanted to compliment her. I thought she did such a wonderful job on it. And also, one other comment, I was just amused because I'm sure it was hard to keep track, but John switched the arm that was his broken arm.
Yeah, did you realise that, Sam?
No.
I just really enjoyed it today, so I thought it was excellent and very well done.
Great, thank you, Jan. Yes, I must say I didn't notice first time, Sam, but I did the second time. You watched something so differently a second time.
Yeah, well, the thing was that quite a few of my recordings were done on different days. So I did the same scene at different times or different days as well. But there was also definitely a couple of times when I had to flip the video because I'd done the take, but realized that I'd looked the wrong direction just in the process of things. And especially some of the ones on location as well, it's quite hard to change up, to go back to the location necessarily if weather and timing, etc., can all play a factor in it. So there were definitely a couple of times when I sent the take in and said, here's a take, However, you might have to flip the video, which then of course means that if I've got one arm that's supposed to be broken, it then looks like the other one. So there are definitely some inconsistencies there, which are something for me to take away for the next session. It's
you just need a
something to learn.
continuity. You need a continuity person at your side, really, in this context, don't you? I mean,
It's
it's
either
you're being
that-
asked an awful lot.
It's either that or we rewrite the script so that he breaks both arms.
That's always an option. That is always an option.
Oh dear. Great. I was intrigued to find a little bit more out about the windlass. It's not a word I'd ever heard of. That might be very ignorant of me. Maybe everybody in Chesterfield knows, but it's not. You don't still have a windlass in the Chesterfield church, is that right?
It's not in the church anymore, but the windlass that was used to build the spire stayed in the church for hundreds of years and then was kind of rediscovered in the chamber at the top of the tower and is now on display in the museum just across the road. So it's quite exciting that the actual technology, this is nerd alert here, I think it's quite exciting that the actual technology is still there for people to go and look at in the museum, and that helped our animator Jan from Jelly Telly to create the windlass, which looks really quite like the original from the 14th century.
How amazing. That's a lovely bit of history and heritage, I guess. It's all part of it. Lovely. Do we have other questions or comments, I guess?
Just
Jan?
I just one other comment on the windlass, because I'm in the States, and it's not a word that anybody knows anything about over here, and I just wondered if there was a way somehow to show, even if it's just a photograph or something, show the stuff being pulled up the church so that people would get the idea of what it was for a bit more clearly. I don't know technically if that's possible, but
we just go to Nancy and then maybe back to Peter. Nancy?
She's talking about me. I did not know what a windlass was. And Jan shared that with me. So when I looked at it the second time today, I noticed the rope on the right-hand side in the shot, which helped me, which I didn't notice in the beginning. So yes, something to relate the value or the heritage or the use of that equipment. And I love the song, wonderful that it was with, that Jan sang in and Clara, but just the purpose of the wind swap would be good somehow for those of us who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, you might hear it described as a winding wheel or a builder's wheel. And it was kind of technology that had come from several hundred years before the Middle Ages. It was, Romans had them as well. And in fact, the big venue in Chesterfield, a concert venue, is called the Winding Wheel, which is, obviously after this machine. It's not a machine, this technology.
They do, point of interest, or not interest really, but they do call the windlass on a ship is what's used to roll up the anchor. So it's used on ships as well. But important, of course.
And then who said was it Gerard? Did you say you have one locally?
No, I'd done a film actually in Beverley Minster, which is near York. And we were filming in the grounds, and we got a tour of the building. And if you get the opportunity, there's a tour that takes you up into the tower. And there's the original ones up there in the tower, along with a lead working room where, I mean, there's so much lead on the roof of a church, obviously, that there's a permanent bloke fixing it with tons of lead. So they still use it in Beverley Minster to lift the lead up.
Oh wow! So
if you ever get the chance to go to Beverley, it's a beautiful thing.
And I think I remember Martin mentioning how you'd love to get the sound of it, whether it's a simulation or whether it's a real one. Maybe you need to go to Beverley and record a real one. So I think that would be wonderful to hear.
Can I ask if in the film somebody mentioned that the actual slate on the spire, which I live in Buxton, and every French holiday that we ever went on as a family, we always went past Chesterfield Crooked Spire because we got off the M1 that way. But also, I worked at Chesterfield Hospital in Calo for quite some time. Is it true that they're actually made of lead? That the actual slate, the tiles on around the spire are made of lead?
That's yours, Mary, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we believe so. We believe that it had 33 tons of lead on it.
Wow.
And we don't know exactly when the lead went up, because some people believe it went up later, maybe 150 years later. But I have found out that there was a lead mine not far away in Winster. So it's quite possible that the lead came from Winster.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I guess without giving away the story too much, you might not be able to say this, it might be a complete spoiler. But was the spire built crooked and has stayed crooked ever since?
Well, that's another question. We don't know. That's the as Anna's just said, you know, going to France. When I was over there last year, I saw 2 crooked spires, deliberately crooked. They were built that way. So there's various ideas about how the Chesterfield spire became crooked, and one is that it might have been unseasoned wood, but we're researching that at the moment. And the other one was that the shortage of skilled labourers might have led to bad workmanship. Some people say the lead was too heavy for the spire and it buckled. Some people say the devil caused it.
Could be.
Yeah. Or God punished people for being naughty.
There's always that theory.
Yeah. And so it could be any of those things. They might have even been trying to build a spiral spire, and just perhaps got it wrong. And who knows? Who knows?
My favourite local story is that an honest man was getting married in the church, and the spire was so surprised to see such a thing, it bent down to look.
That's good. So there's some good local tales.
May I say something?
Is that Christopher?
Yes.
Hello, yes.
I wanted to say how well the music fitted in with the story. And particularly, I thought the last ensemble at the very end of the show, where all started singing, was very effective. And I hope that's going to be kept into the next film, because I think a good ending is essential for a film. So, you know, a good ending like that with everybody taking part, I think it was very, very good. And the fact that it mixed some folk elements with a more classical, you might say, style was also very effective. I thought they blended very well together. So congratulations, I think, on that. Well done, everybody.
Lovely, thank you, Christopher. So I think we're probably drawing to the end, but I had maybe a final question about, interestingly, in the introduction, I think it was, Peter mentioned how this story comes out of the moment of a great pandemic when a lot of people have died, and that's really affecting the characters. I just wondered how much you think everything we've been through this year and the fact that we're in this world pandemic, how that might affect the writing, and whether, what that might be about, if you think it's relevant.
It is relevant, but I do want to point out that we started this about 18 months ago, before COVID was even heard of. It's just pure coincidence that it's about a pandemic. But it informs it in that there are things that are happening now that resonate with what happened, you know, hundreds of years ago. So we won't be making any direct comparisons, because we don't think that that's the right thing to do. And if people see any comparisons, that will be for them to make their own mind up. So yes and no.
Great. Thank you. I think it is interesting because inevitably it's going to inform performances and audiences, I'm sure, in terms of how we interpret it as a story. Lovely. So is there anything else anybody would like to say or to ask? No? Oh, yes, Kate?
Yeah, can I just say that not having anything to do with the production side of it, I know a lot of people that are on the production team, I know a lot of people that are on the Zoom tonight. Somehow, because it was lockdown, it's made it special, it's made it different, and to watch it because it wasn't in the normal situation, and it wasn't, people were doing it in different locations, people were doing it very differently. It's got something special to it because we have gone through what we've gone through. And like you said right at the beginning, pandemic, then we've got a pandemic now. And as someone that's not been involved with it, as an outsider and someone watching, I think you have done an absolutely fabulous job, absolutely superb. It's been involved with theatre work a long time ago. I know the amount of work that you've all put into it to get something out of it. And I do believe what you put in, you get out, or you get out what you put in. So I commend all of you and credit to all of you because it's absolutely superb. I watched it earlier and I watched it again tonight, and I could watch it again and again and again. The music, the story, everything. Well done, all of you, because that was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I think that's a really lovely note to end on. Thank you, Kate. And congratulations. It is something really special. This experience you've been through, what you've made, will inform the next bit. And I, for one, and I'm sure there's other people on this screen who are just really excited and anticipate the next draft in January. What's the date you said? I'll hold you to it. January the 12th, was it?
Well.
Okay, I'll be emailing. Where is it? Let's see the next draft. But good luck with the next bit of it. Thank you all so much. Thank you, audience, for coming, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And well done, actors, and thank you, Jane, as well.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you very much, Emily. All there is to finally say is to wave goodbye to the YouTube audience, because of course this has all gone live to YouTube. Thank you very much for the discussion. And with that, so we don't just cut off the YouTube audience, I am now going to hit that button and then the live stream, and then you can have a chat amongst yourselves.
Ooh.
Thank you.
There you go, you're free to talk.